It is April 25th. I am in sunny Saskatoon, Saskatchewan at Vendasta headquarters, and welcome to this week's edition of the weekly webinar. My name is Amy. I'm the Director of Go-to-Market here at Vendasta, and I'm incredibly excited to bring you this session all about MyCorporation. Earlier today, we released this global brand through Marketplace, and hopefully you all saw the emails and the messaging, and we're so happy to have you on this webinar. Most importantly, we have a very special guest. Deborah Sweeney is the CEO of MyCorporation. Hi, Deborah.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. So I thought we'd just jump right in and get started, and you could take us through all about this wonderful business and service that you've built and how our partners can leverage it.
Folks on the phone, thanks for joining us here today. We have a really exciting opportunity with Vendasta that we're going to walk through here, and certainly welcome any and all questions throughout the webinar that we go through today. So whatever you have that's applicable to your business, please do not hesitate to ask any questions. Who is MyCorporation? A little bit about the company. We are located in Calabasas, California. It's a beautiful area. That's where Deborah's at. I am in the Minneapolis, Minnesota market. And we've been in the legal filing space for over 20 years. We are an industry leader in legal filings that includes LLCs and corporations, trademarks, and anything that a business would really need to stay compliant with their business filing needs. We do filings in all 50 states, certainly continental and Alaska and Hawaii, and we're able to do it all times of the day, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. And we have a really dedicated support and customer service team. One of the things that really differentiates us at MyCorporation versus anybody else in the market that provides these services is what we invest in our customer service. We have a dedicated team set up specifically for Vendasta, for our reseller network, to be able to answer any questions that you guys might have or anything for your customers, to be able to make sure that we're offering the best customer service for you guys, the best support that you guys would need to be able to offer this service to your customers. And we are proud to have served over 1 million businesses over our 20-year history. So it's not like we're new in this space. We are very veteran in being able to guide small businesses through the business filing journey by providing LLCs to them. So that's a little bit about who MyCorporation is. A little bit about the U.S. Small business landscape and why this is important. So in the United States, we have just over 30 million active small businesses, and what I have here in the graphic to the right is just 0 to 20 to be able to give you guys an understanding of. Here's a range of the 30 million small businesses that are active and the almost 59 million small business employees. And the reason that is important is just because you're a small business employee and a small business, they're not necessarily one and the same. Some might be independent contractors that work for one of these small businesses. So that's the total available small business landscape in the United States. Each year, 620,000 businesses open and 590,000 shut. A lot of people on this call, I'm sure if you're a reseller, you work with a lot of small businesses. You got new ones starting up each year that are coming to you for your services, and ones who you're losing each year because they go out of business. It's part of the small business landscape. The last bullet point on here, 70% of small businesses operate as sole proprietors. So if you see the graphic off to the right, that's a representation of the 30 million small businesses. 70% of all small businesses operate as sole proprietors. Why is that important? Let me go to the next slide. 21.1 million small businesses in the United States are unincorporated. 21.1 million small businesses are operating as sole proprietors today, meaning the total available market for you guys as resellers of what we're going to offer here today through Vendasta at MyCorporation LLCs are unincorporated, meaning they've never incorporated their business. They're not an LLC. They're not an S corp. They're not a C corp. They're not a nonprofit. They are the opportunity that we have in front of us here today to be able to offer these types of services to them as business owners, and they really need it. And we'll talk a little bit about why they really need it for their business, but huge opportunity out there for us, and it's really exciting. a little bit, what is a business incorporation and what does that mean? So incorporating your business means you turn your sole proprietorship or your partnership, excuse me, into a company that's formally recognized by your state. So when a company incorporates, you form an LLC, you form a corporation, you become your own legal structure set apart from the individuals who founded the business. So I'm not anymore going to be representing myself as a business. I now create a separation between myself as a person and the business entity as a whole. So that's what a business incorporation is. Why is it important to incorporate? So 3 really, really big important things here. First, and in my opinion, I think the biggest and most important, you protecting your personal assets, and you're creating a separate entity from yourself to your business. And I mentioned a little bit ago, this is incredibly important in case anything were to ever happen to you as a business owner. So if one of your customers, a small business owner, has a business and they've not incorporated, they're operating as one of those 21 million plus sole proprietors. If anything were to happen where their business gets sued, they do not have a separation right now of their personal assets versus their business assets. So if they were to ever get sued, everything is on the table and available for them. So they could get bankrupt, they could lose their home, they could lose their cars. They are operating under a lot of risk by operating as a sole proprietor. But another reason is you save on your taxes. By forming an LLC, it allows you to take advantage of special tax deductions that you get as a small business owner. And the last thing, you build credibility. Adding LLC or incorporation to your business name really establishes your business as a professional identity, and it demonstrates that you're a legitimate business. You can be trusted by your customers. You know that you're not dealing with a faulty business owner, and it shows that you are going to be in business for an extended period of time. Deborah, I think your phone might be back up. Do you want to step in?
Yeah, I'm back. No, I mean, you're doing a great job. I think that all in all, an LLC is a fantastic mechanism by which small business owners can protect their assets, save on taxes, and put themselves forward as an established business. And I think that that's a fantastic way, not just for the resellers, maybe for their own businesses, but of course for the businesses with whom the resellers are working with as they identify opportunities for businesses that might be sole props or partnership status, but don't have this corporate status protection, which really kind of levels up the professionalism of the business. So keep going, it's great.
Great. So what are LLCs? For those on the phone that might not be familiar, an LLC is a limited liability company that's just a type of incorporation protection for the business owner's personal assets. So it ensures the owner's personal liability for the business debts and obligations is no more than the amount that they invested originally in the business. Again, so it's creating that separate entity from your personal assets to your business assets. It protects your personal assets, your home, your automobile, your personal assets, your bank account, anything like that are not available to any creditor or any legal lawsuits that your business might face if anything were to ever happen. Why LLC? It limits the liability of the owners. Again, it creates that separation of personal versus business assets. It's easier to maintain and it's more flexible than some of the options, which are S Corp, C Corps, nonprofits. The tax purposes, you have a little bit more flexibility in terms of the way you'd like to file your taxes as a business. It allows you to raise capital and take bank loans, in which LLCs are often required to be able to do those things, and it's better suited for single owners or partners. So a lot of sole proprietors will have just either a single or a couple people that belong to the business, and you take the 21.1 million small businesses out there that are currently operating that way. LLC is really the best option for them to go to as an incorporated business. Common types of businesses that form LLCs, and hopefully a lot of either you guys on the phone, if you represent some of these verticals, or some of your businesses fall under these categories: restaurants, retailers, contractors, property owners, professionals, online companies. You think about why would an online company need to be worried about worrying about their liability? Well, there are so many different scenarios in which a business is at risk, in which you deal with one bad customer, you're liable for anything that were to happen and just the tax benefits themselves just by forming as an LLC are a huge, huge benefit to any business that were to form. But these are some of the common types that we've seen come through MyCorporation that'll form an LLC. We're going to go through a couple of case studies here, just so we look at a couple of real-world applications of how LLCs have come into play and why they're important. This is John's convenience shop. John owns a convenience store in the Chicago area. He is not formally incorporated his business as an LLC. A customer came into his business. They found a foreign object in this food, and they sued John. This is not an uncommon scenario. This happens all over the place. I'm sure you guys on the phone can think of your own personal things where you've heard something on the news of someone finding something in their food at a local restaurant. Well, John got sued, and because he had not filed as an LLC, he lost his business and he lost his personal assets to be able to cover the lawsuit. So that includes his bank account and his home. Case study 2, this is Jim's construction company. Jim has a company just outside of the Sacramento area, also has not incorporated his business as an LLC. Jim terminated one of his employees for wrongful termination. That employee felt as if that was unfair. He then sued Jim for wrongful termination. Jim had not covered his business as an LLC. He then had to file for personal bankruptcy because he lost his business and his bank account as part of this lawsuit for wrongful termination. Again, happens all the time, not just in the construction field, but in any industry. If you were to let go of an employee, you run the risk of this type of thing happening. And case study number 3 here, this is Joanne's Bakery out of the New York area. She has incorporated her business. She's an LLC. She has business insurance on her bakery. A customer came in. She has wet floors. It happens all the time. You have a brick and mortar location. They slip, they fall, and you sue Joanne for the injury. Because Joanne has an LLC, the lawsuit cannot attempt to obtain her personal assets. So the customer could sue Joanne, but because she's an LLC, you can only go after the business and not her personal assets. And hopefully the insurance she has on her business should be able to cover her business assets as well. So those are just 3 really high-level case studies of businesses who either have or have not filed as an LLC and some of the risk that you run by not doing it. And some of you guys on the phone as resellers, you might be thinking to yourselves, have I incorporated my business? If not, do I run the risk that some of these businesses ran as well of if somebody were to come in or if I were to terminate an employee, am I covered by that? So just 3 high-level case studies that show the benefits of why having an LLC is important for your business.
That was great, Andrew. And for you and Deborah, we got a question that I believe is quite relevant and quite timely. The question states, is being incorporated important for online-based companies too, or is it just businesses with brick and mortar locations?
I can take that one. I think that all in all, businesses that have customers or have vendors, relationships online, you can have the equal risk as a bricks and mortar type of business. And the rationale there is that you may send out an email that someone claims you spammed them and they take some sort of legal action or they report you to a government agency. The whole point of an LLC is the fact that it separates your personal from those of your business. So in essence, you form an LLC and you get a tax ID that is almost like your business social security number. And with that, you're able to literally have its own entity. And so if you have partners and you have other investors, it really runs as its own component, aside from your personal assets, your house, your cars, your spouse's assets, etc. It really creates a barrier. And in law, they call it a corporate veil, meaning it's protected around the business. So whether it's bricks and mortar where you have these things like trips and falls or an online business, the same really applies to both. And the truth is that even a super small online business with no employees may find that there's risk from vendors. Someone gets upset and says they sold you something and you never received it, so you're not paying the bill. Suddenly the vendor comes after you and now your personal assets are at risk. I mean, there's tens of thousands of examples. the truth is that having that LLC really creates that barrier. It also creates a great organizational structure under which you can open bank accounts. So when you're paying your vendors, you're paying it through the corporate structure. You're receiving money through the corporate structure from customers, and you're paying out for employees. And so all of it goes through an independent structure, which helps to avoid any commingling of business funds with personal funds, which can be a tax issue. So it really helps create an organization or structure under which you formally run your business. And aside from that, there's a piece of the LLC that's very valuable when you talk with partners. And so having that structure in place, and you have what's called an operating agreement that corresponds with an LLC. And under that operating agreement, you basically lay out how the organization is run. And so that operating agreement allows you to work together with your partners in order to sort of set forth the organization of the business, which never is an issue until it actually is an issue and the owners are upset with each other and something goes wrong. So it not only forms that structure against you as an individual, against customers, but even for you to develop a relationship with the partners or investors in your business so that there's clarity on the investment strategy, the exit strategy, and even how you anticipate any type of business.
Thank you, Deborah, for that very thorough answer. I want to briefly touch on, and Andrew, Deborah, feel free to jump in, on this fantastic sales support team and line and email address, this real enormous asset that you have for our resellers.
You want me to take that, Andrew? So at MyCorporation, we pride ourselves on our customer service, and we work with partners, professionals, and individual customers who have lots of questions about their businesses, right? They want to know what's the rationale behind forming an LLC. They're asking similar questions to what you're asking. They're also talking about, they've heard from XYZ entrepreneur these variables, or they want to flesh out this type of issue with us. And so we're able to help them think it through. While we cannot provide legal advice, we can absolutely help them think through the type of entity, the structure that it is, the explanation on how the process works within the filing process. We do hundreds of these a day. And so we really have a good experience with understanding what the customers ask, what they need, and how we can solve those problems. So we're here to support you as a reseller, and we can also help support you as you work with your individual clients.
Thank you, Deborah. That's fantastic. I just want to stress again that this email address, this phone number, this team at MyCorporation is dedicated to helping specifically Vendasta resellers. So we're incredibly excited about this. This information is also listed in the Marketplace product page, which we will show you shortly. So you'll have access to it whenever you need it.
Today I'm going to show you how to easily incorporate a business using MyCorporation within the Vendasta Marketplace. To start, I've opened an account under Businesses Accounts within Partner Center. I'm just going to go ahead here and impersonate a user on the account. Now the Business Center is loaded, I'm going to head over to the Store tab, click MyCorporation, and then click Get It Now. Here you're going to be given a rich order form that you can fill out on behalf of your client or have the client fill out themselves. So the primary contact information is going to be who MyCorporation contacts in the case that there's any inaccurate information or they need to just get in touch with that person for additional context. Next, I'm going to fill out that primary contact street address. Perfect. I'm going to click Next. Now we can enter in a desired business name. This will generally be the business name that you want the business to be incorporated under. You're going to want to enter in your first choice here. Ensure this business name includes LLC or limited liability company somewhere within it. Next, I have the option to also fill in some other desired business names, both the second choice and third choice. MyCorporation is going to take the desired business name and try that first. Should that fail, they'll move on to your second choice and finally your third choice. If none of the options are available, they'll reach out to you and work out a business name that you can use to incorporate. Now I have to enter in a brief description of my business. Under Employee and Accounting Information, choose when the fiscal year ends. This is generally going to be the last day of the year, but if your business operates differently than that, choose that date instead. I've selected that transactions are going to be declared when a payment is received, and there is no set end date for this LLC. Finally, this LLC is managed by members instead of managers. The primary difference between these two is that a manager is somebody hired specifically to manage the LLC, whereas LLC members will generally have some kind of ownership interest within the company. And finally, I'll enter the member information here. As discussed earlier, members are just anyone with ownership information. So if you have a CEO or some other higher up in your company that does own part of the company, put their information here. If there are other members within the company, you could add them by clicking Add Member here. As I'm currently the only member of this company, I'm going to leave it at B. Finally, I'll choose the deadline for members to make this contribution, and that's going to be on the 26th. Perfect. I'll click Submit Form, confirm my order, and agree to purchase. Let's head back into Partner Center. By filling out the form in Business Center, I'll have created an order. All I have to do is go to Sales, Orders, and then click on the order ID. As I just filled this out, the order is all correct, but I can quickly skim over all the information that I submitted. If it looks good, click Approve. You'll get a confirmation to confirm that this is how you want to proceed. If so, click Approve and Continue. And that's it. MyCorporation is now going to reach out to whoever the primary contact on that form was, and they'll ensure that all the information is correct and continue the process. As far as things on your end goes, you should be done.
Thank you so much for being on. And Andrew, I don't have a slide for you, but you did fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Like we mentioned, for most of you on the line, we'll follow up directly with a copy of this recording to answer all of your questions. And we hope to see you again next week. Thank you again and have a wonderful afternoon.